Can everybody hear me okay?
Yeah,
She presented, so she's on me.
Hello? Can you guys hear us?
Thank you. Then since we have quorum, I'd like to go ahead and open the meeting, start with the pledge of allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please remain standing. Heavenly Father, thank you for bringing us safely together this evening. Please guide us in our deliberations and help us to make prudent and wise decisions for those whom we serve. Amen.
Amen.
The time is 6:32.
Okay, American Legion Monique. 1080 Joliet. 935 Manhattan. 521 Seeger. 392 Piatone. 241 Joliet Buffalo Soldiers.
Here.
191 Wilmington.
Here.
52 Romeoville.
Here.
39 Braidwood. 18 Lockport.
Here.
13 Plainfield.
Here.
1288 Bolingbrook.
Here.
Post 5 Harwood.
Here.
9545 New Lenox.
Here.
8283 Seeger. 5917 Bolingbrook.
Here.
5819 Lamont. 5788 Lockport.
Here.
5422 Wilmington. 2199 Joliet Stone City. 1493 Frankfurt. 725 Mokina. 367 Joliet Cantigny.
Here.
So 13 present, we have a quorum. Thank you, everybody. I'd like to now start with introduction of guests and our first time attendees.
Oh, we go.
The first time, well, first time in many, many years. Wayne Mishak from Bolingbrook, American Legion.
Wonderful, thank you for coming.
Welcome back.
Steve Daly, Romeoville Post 52. No relation.
So Dominic did just mention, I'm sorry, we need to go back and we need to go ahead and vote on a president pro tem. So do we have any volunteers just for this meeting? It's just for this one meeting.
Nominate Lisa.
Motion in a second.
I'll second.
Okay.
Does
Yeah,
it say?
roll call vote.
Okay, this is for President Pro Tem. American Legion 1200. Ten eighty Joliet. 935 Manhattan.
Yes.
521 Seeger. 392 Peatone. 241 Joliet Buffalo Soldier.
Me too.
Well, how does he vote, yes or no? Yes, okay.
Yes.
191 Wilmington.
Yes.
52 Romeoville.
Yes.
39 Braidwood. 18 Lockport.
Yes.
13 Plainfield.
Oh, yes.
1288 Bolingbrook.
Yes.
Post 5 Harwood.
Yes.
9545 New Lenox.
Yes.
5917 Bolingbrook.
Yes.
5819 Lamont. 5788 Lockport.
Yes.
5422 Wilmington.
Yes.
2199 Joliet Stone City. 1493 Frankfurt. 725 Mokina. 367 Joliet Cantigny.
Yes.
Passes.
I'm probably loud enough. Can everyone hear me? Okay without the mic? Very good. I'd like to open the floor for public comments. Do we have a location where we want public, where we want the individual to stand? Oh, we do. Somebody can walk. If there anyone has a public comment, now is the time for that comment. Second call. Anybody with public comment? Okay, we'll move on. Minutes of the last meeting were on the table. They were also sent out last week. Did anyone review those minutes and have any changes, any issues with those minutes? Are they acceptable? Yes, sure.
If you go to IXE, which is right before on the last, right before F, it says Christensen confirms the expectation that the report will be prepared in time for December meeting next month. That meeting was held in December, so the next month would be January. And it was the December meeting, so that doesn't follow.
It needs to be updated to January.
It was either January or by the end of the month. I think that's what he was saying, that it was gonna be done by the end of the month.
We can review the tape and that makes sense. So let's note that, correct it if necessary.
You'll get that fixed. Thank you, sir. They're gonna have to correct it. We would take out your. Okay, we'll update it and do it the next meeting, so we don't have to go around the room to get you all to say, yes, you wanna update the date on that. We'll just take care of that. Now we'll move on to the superintendent's report.
Okay, the award log, as you can see, gross about $171.5 million for the total benefits received since 2015. We have started receiving benefits for 2023 already, decisions from January up until present. We're already at $500,000 annual awards. Big thing that happened, the PACT Act was just put in place on January 1st. So there's a lot of claims that have been received since it was signed by the president on August 10. The VA has been processing them and working the claims all the way up until the point of ready for a decision, and then putting them on hold until January 1st. So this created a backlog in claims. This is causing a bit of a delay, but all the work is already done on most of those claims, so they have started making decisions. We've had quite a few of them come back already. That's moving along as it should, or about as good as we can expect it to. Aside from that, we are still working on getting the word out about some of the details of the PACT Act and how it affects veterans from various generations. Our office is inundated with PACT Act claims right now, so we've got a lot of people that know about it, are asking questions, and we're able to help give benefits to veterans that I know I, for one, have been trying to get benefits for some of these veterans for years. And that wasn't possible until just now. Some of these, either different areas that they were approving for Agent Orange or the radiation, veterans exposed post-World War II. This is a big win for the veterans, and we've been seeing that response from the veterans. Does anybody have any questions about the PACT Act or any other update in veterans benefits that's come out? All right, so you can see the annual award log continues to grow. It's compounding, so it's never going to go down. But we are on, the down from 2021 at 5.7 million new awards to 2022 at 5.2 million new awards. That's normal. The reason being, we don't get notification of all the awards that come in. So I'm still putting awards in from veterans that I filed for and had to receive their claims back in 2019, 2020. Whenever I find out about that award, it goes on the award log. The VA does not update us when they make a decision on one of the claims that we filed. We have to rely on the veteran. So if the veteran doesn't come back, we don't know that the decision's been made unless we happen to fall upon the decision by either doing an annual award audit, a claim audit where we check through all the claims that we filed throughout the year, or the veteran comes back in for another claim. That's when we're notified that the last decision was made and we can add. So this number for 2022, even though the year is over, it is going to continue to rise. So that's not a surprise and not a worry at all. You can see from 2020 to 21, we went up, and that was during COVID. So we've been working, it's easy to say, a lot more than we have ever in our history, since I've been there anyways, in the last 10 years. So we've been working more claims and more veterans than ever. So I have no concern, or there shouldn't be any concern over that number as of today. You'll see that continue to rise. Yeah, and this is just the number of notification letters received in 2022. It doesn't look like that got updated for 22. I can check back with Greg and see if he did updated those numbers. Any other questions about the VSO activity report? Very good. That concludes my section.
So emergency shelter, currently we do not have any veterans staying in the hotel, fortunately. They have all been housed. We just received the second payout for our FEMA grant for $15,000, and we also have $40,000 left from the ESG grant. So we're very fortunate right now. We have $55,000 remaining for emergency shelter. Joe wanted to also pass along that we have not had any veterans that needed shelter since they've been housed for the past 3 weeks. Does anybody have any questions regarding emergency housing? Okay. Financial assistance for the month of December. We had a total of $125 for personal products, $700 for shelter. Gas was $0. That's a result from LIHEAP. Electric was $90.51, and water was $47.26. Any questions regarding financial assistance?
Bolingbrook, 1288, Larry Shaver, I'll make the motion to accept.
Okay, and we need a second. We should not really do a roll call, because there's nothing in contention or no questions or issues, we should be fine with that roll call. Oh, voice off, yeah. So, we've got a first, we've got a second, somebody. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Nays? Abstentions? Carries. Section 7, new business. Section 8, we have an updated website calendar.
We have been working with Alpha Media to design a more user-friendly calendar. If you've gone on to our website and gone on to the events, you'll see that it's a pain to get through because it lists everything in chronological order from the most recent to the oldest down to the bottom, which means we have every meeting from now until the end of 2023 up there, and you gotta sit all the way down until you find the current event. We have worked with them, and we've designed a calendar that is actually up top and it links down to the bottom. It'll have links to the agendas, the minutes, the videos. You'll be able to go to the calendar and see everything from that meeting. And we'd also like to include on that calendar, we've actually included that we can have a separate color for post activities. So if any post has activities, let us know. We want to put it on our calendar. I would love for our calendar to be the one place where any veteran can go to and see whatever is happening in the county throughout all our posts. Because right now, we've been trying to track it, and you got to go this site's Facebook page, leads you to this website, leads you to this site's Facebook page. And there really is. If I want to do something over a weekend for a veterans event, why not find one place where we can do that? And the new calendar design that we've done is going to allow us to do that. We've also created a message board that's going to be put onto the front, the main page as soon as you log on, which is going to have any updates, any big news, any media, anything that we find relevant, and we want you guys to know about right off the bat. So if there's a change, if there's a meeting coming up, that can go up on that bulletin board, and it'll be right there, waiting as soon as you log on to our website, as soon as you sign on to our website. If there's an event coming up, if there's new legislation that passed, if there's a helpful article, that's just a bulletin board where we can give out, make sure the updated information is easily accessible. So the total for that whole thing was $300. So they've sent me the rough for it. I haven't had a chance to work my way through it. Like I said, we've been extremely busy. So I haven't had the hour and a half it takes to sift through their technological jargon and figure out how to operate it yet. So as soon as we get that done, the website will be updated. And basically we're building the website to enter into this kind of a new era for the VAC. We want it to be easy access for everybody, easy information, make sure you all know exactly how to contact us and the relevant information that veterans should be getting right now. Any questions about the website? That concludes the voting today.
So the staff in the office have not yet received their COLA pay, so they have not yet received their January increases like most folks work along government do. The commission needs to approve that in order for them to be,
Well, actually, in June, when the budget was presented, the cost of living increase was worked into the budget and it was approved at the full commission meeting. However, when I submitted the change of status forms to the county for processing, we need the commission member to sign them. So we need permission from the commission to approve somebody to sign the cost of living increases that would retro back to December 1st. And it falls in line, the COLA increase with the federal COLA increase for 8.7%. Yes, sir.
Can I make a motion to allow the President Pro Tem to sign that paperwork to move the COLA increase forward tonight? I'm asking,
your motion is to allow me as
you,
the
as the
president pro
President Pro
tem
Tem, to
those.
sign those paperwork to move that forward.
It's
Is
just
that
one motion.
just one
Approving
motion?
the COLA and
Okay.
approving the rest of it, even though the COLA was previously approved.
You said some commission member has to do it.
Yes,
May
sir.
as well be the President Pro Tem, so I make a motion to have the President Pro Tem sign that document.
Thank you.
Second.
Any discussion? Any other motions? Okay, then we will do a roll call. So the vote is to have me as President Pro Tem sign the form for Will County so that the COLA is paid to the employees.
I would propose we just tell the boys, and if there's any disagreement,
I think because it's budget, I'm sorry, sir, I think because it's budget, I wanna capture
okay,
and make sure that everybody understands, because we are dealing with our annual pot of money.
and you're saying.
Pretty conservative with money.
Okay, 1200 Monique. 1080 Joliet. 935 Manhattan. 521 Seeger. 392 Peatone. 241 Joliet Buffalo Soldiers. 191 Wilmington. 52 Romeoville.
Yes.
39 Braidwood. 18 Lockport.
Yes.
13 Plainfield.
Yes.
1288 Bolingbrook.
Yes.
Post 5 Harwood.
Yes.
9545 New Lenox.
Yes.
5917 Bolingbrook.
Yes.
5819 Lamont. 5788 Lockport.
Yes.
5422 Wilmington.
Yes.
2199 Joliet Stone City. 1493 Frankfurt. 725 Mokina.
Yes.
Take all the up front. 367 Joliet Kankakee.
Yes.
Thank you.
Not getting it.
13.
So the motion carries with 13. However, one delegate left the room and another delegate came in after we established quorum. So again, just to keep everything above board, we're gonna need to do that quorum roll call one more time.
Okay.
We'll go to it.
They just like hearing me.
We just like hearing you talk. We like making.
1200 Monique. 1080 Joliet. 935 Manhattan. 521 Seeger. 392 Peatone. 241 Joliet Buffalo Soldier. 191 Wilmington. 52 Romeoville.
Here.
39 Braidwood. 18 Lockport.
Here.
13 Plainfield.
Here.
1288 Bolingbrook.
Here.
Post 5 Harwood.
Here,
9545 New Lenox.
Here.
8283 Steger. 5917 Bolingbrook.
Yes.
5819 Lamont. 5788 Lockport.
Here.
5422 Wilmington.
Here.
2199 Joliet Stone City. 1493 Frankfurt. 725 Mokina.
Present.
367 Joliet Cantigny.
Here.
Thank you very much, appreciate that. Moving on with new business, part C, governor's report has been submitted, and I'm turning over to Jen. Do you want to explain?
Did everybody have a chance to review the governor's report? If you had a hard time sleeping, it probably would help. No. So the governor's report is an annual capture of how the VAC performs through the fiscal year. So we capture data that basically justifies our existence. So it goes into budget, personnel, what we are providing for the veterans for the community in Will County versus what we have coming in as well. So this captures data as far as the Will County veteran population, which is decreasing. Unfortunately, we're right at about 27,000. It captures money spent for financial assistance for the year. It captures our transportation program, the amount of benefits brought into the county because of a result of the work from the VSOs and federal aid, and that could be for service-connected disabilities, pension, DIC. So we have our annual award log in here as well. And there's just some different demographics, and it goes into the Will County property tax exemption. So if you're curious about how many fellow veterans are receiving their property tax exemptions or reductions, it breaks it down for 2022. Goes in to discuss the continuum of care homeless veteran population, which fortunately in February when the COC did the annual point in time count, they did not count any homeless veterans who were on the street.
Amen.
So if you have some time, you want to review this in greater detail. If you have any questions, let me know. Does anybody have any questions now if you had a chance to review it? Okay, thank you.
Maybe possibly inappropriate, but, if you haven't had a chance to review that report, please review that report. If you look through and think about, each of those numbers are people, each of those numbers are veterans. And it's amazing, what this team has done in the office. It just, the amount of work, the amount of help is extraordinary. So I encourage you all to go ahead and look at that report because you will be frankly astonished at all that was done by this small group of people up here that really go out of their way to help veterans. Okay, moving on to old business. Any more new business? No new business, old business. Item number 1, a draft investigation report by Mr. Brady's office, or his representative. Mr. Sly is here this evening. Okay, great.
Jeff, would you like to
Do
introduce
you want help
yourself?
handing something out? Would you like assistance handing out? or
Sure,
later?
I have, I think you have, I got like 21 copies. You know, let me hit the highlights,
Okay.
and then we can hand it out, and I'll be available to answer any questions anybody has afterwards. Unless anybody has any way to do it, I can respond. So,
And if you have a little bit number copy, we'll make sure you tell us what
yeah, we can make this better. Okay.
that should be fine.
Good evening, everybody. Excuse me. My name is Jeff Sly, and I am one of the attorneys with the firm of Peterson, Johnson, and Murray. And as probably everybody in this room knows at this point, that our firm has been tasked by the VAC to investigate allegations regarding a lack of oversight regarding the awarding of a marketing contract to HG Marketing in the amount of $495,000. Throughout the last 6 months, my office has had an opportunity to meet and speak with, actually, just about every person on this dais, in addition to many members of the VAC staff, as well as, I think, pretty much all of the past members of the VAC Executive Committee, the Executive Board. I believe we did also speak with the former superintendent, and we reviewed a slew of documents consisting of all the prior minutes of all the VAC meetings, probably going back for the last 2 years. We've gone through all of the minutes of the Will County Ad Hoc Cares Committee. We've gone through the minutes of the meetings of the regular Will County Board, the marketing contract with AG Consulting, the memorandum of understanding that was entered into between AG and the VAC, and we have made certain findings based on what we came across. Our findings are contained in it's a draft report of the investigation. These are basically our findings. The idea is that to share with the membership together, to kind of go over what we found and what our findings were, what we found, the reason why we found them, and what we think could be done better, and our recommendation going forward. Before I go into those, I should probably start with the end part first and just say at the outset that all of the current and former staff that we spoke to regarding the awarding this contract, all of the board members that were the executive board, the regular board, that were at the VACWC when this all happened, everybody agreed to talk to us. And everybody in our finding was completely forthcoming and open and honest. We didn't find any evidence of any malice. We didn't find any evidence of any self-dealing. We didn't find any evidence of bad faith. Our impression in speaking to all the people, staff and members, is everybody to a person it was clear, cared very deeply about the veterans of Will County. And that was very apparent. In fact, a lot of the people that we spoke to became very emotional at times. And there was never a doubt in our minds that everybody did not have the best intentions in dealing throughout this process. And we just think, and I think you'll see in our report, what we felt was that the VAC was confronted with an unusual situation in that we all were in the COVID pandemic. I mean, it was uncharted waters for everybody. And we just feel that, based on our investigation, that the informal procedures of maybe how the board conducted its business, how the staff conducted its business, it just was not well equipped to handle a situation of this type, these unprecedented circumstances that we found ourselves in. And that's just what we want to just say at the outset. But getting right to it, there's a few things that we found. As you probably all are aware, the way this whole situation came about, they regarded certain allegations that were made in awarding this marketing contract to AG Marketing. The amount of the contract was $495,000. And there were a lot of concerns raised by many people regarding the fact that this was a no-bid contract with all of the money awarded up front, with done before any of the work was involved, with little discussion of the VAC, with no vote, and once the contract was awarded, very little oversight of the work that was done after that. There were also some concerns, and again, I shouldn't have to tell you because I think everybody in this room is aware. There were certain concerns that the money that was awarded could be best used for veterans. I think that was a big concern out there. That $495,000 was a lot to award for a marketing contract, and I think a lot of people were concerned. And I've been through a couple of these meetings, and I watched all of the meetings being streamed, and I pretty much saw the public comments, and I know what the concerns were. So as a result of our investigation, what we found is some of those allegations that there were well-founded, some of them not so much, even though the concerns were understandable. But most important, what we try to do as investigators is not only try to kind of find out what went wrong, but try to find out the best way to move forward for the VAC. Because I think that's really what's most important in this particular scenario. How to make things better, how to move forward. So that pretty much is the scope of the investigation. So I just wanted to share you briefly a few of the findings, well, all the findings that we made, and then make the report available. And in case anybody has any questions, I'll be more than happy to answer. Okay? All right. The first thing that we found is that the services that were performed by AG Marketing were not performed in accordance with either the contract that was entered into with the Veterans Assistance Commission of Board County or the memorandum of understanding between the VAC and AG that formed the basis of the contract. Back in November of 2020, if you go over the minutes and go to not only the VAC minutes, but the board minutes, that's really when this whole thing came about. There was a discussion about outreach. The VAC, Will County at the time, were trying to find out ways of how we could better, well, first of all, serve the veteran community, but all in the way of outreach. How could we make them more aware, the public aware of the services that we had to provide? And there was a meeting in November of 2020 where they were thought of all of these different things that they can do. And what was discussed was an advertising and marketing campaign. It wasn't the only thing discussed. There were other things discussed in that meeting, and they were speaking about other things that they can do. And that's one of the things that they came up with. Shortly thereafter, Christy McNichol, as you all know, was the former superintendent. She went in front of the Ad Hoc CARES Committee, whose job it was to field all of these requests for funding from not just the VAC, but Will County, all the different Will County people that needed the money, and they had this CARES money. So she made the request for $495,000 for this marketing campaign. Now, based on our investigation, what we were able to piece together is the reason why, the way that was come up with is shortly after that November meeting of the VAC, Christy and Jerry McNichol exchanged a few emails. Jerry Ann Wiesbrook. Jerry Ann Wiesbrook is basically the head of AG. She had been doing some work for the VAC in the way of marketing back right when COVID began, about 2020. So they put together what is called, and you'll see it in the materials, a memorandum of understanding. And the memorandum of understanding was basically a quote by AG of what the $495,000 was supposed to go to. It was supposed to go to video creation, there was advertising, it was graphic creation, all these different things. All together was added up to $495,000. What we've been able to piece together, not only from documents but speaking to the people involved, that was shared with the Will County Board, and that was part of the marketing campaign. And to Christy's credit, she didn't just ask for money for marketing campaign, for a marketing campaign. She also asked for CARES funds for, homeless veterans, for mental health. Christy was one of those people. I don't know if you guys all knew better than I did, but she just tried to get all the money that she could. And she did go in front of the the Will County CARES Committee and said we needed this $495,000. Well, that money was eventually approved, but that money wasn't approved by the CARES Committee. okay, because they had the CARES Act funds, and there were certain, I wanna call them strings, but that's probably the wrong thing for certain requirements that they had to meet. Well, the long and the short of it is, it's all in the report. The money that was awarded by the Will County Board. And I know that there was a lot of concern expressed by members, well, $495,000, isn't that money that could be better used for veterans? Well, that's not exactly what the Will County Board did. The Will County Board basically added to the VAC's budget for that year, for fiscal year 2021. There is always a line item for professional services, for the VAC of Will County. And that's really what this was, it was a professional services contract. Well, prior to this money being awarded, the professional services line item for professional services was $30,000. What the Will County Board did, and it's in their resolution, and the resolution is attached as an exhibit, look at that, changed that from $30,000 and added an extra $495,000 on it. They knew it was for AG, because Christy McNichol, in her request, said we had been working with AG Marketing, and they've been very successful in the past, and we request $495,000 for marketing. So the Cook County, or the Will County Board, knowing full well that the money was going to be for AG, awarded the $495,000. So while there are allegations, well, 49 and 495, did they take those from veterans and give those to somebody else? Well, we didn't really see that in our investigation. And this really wasn't a takeaway from any other part of the VAC's budget. This really was an addition from the Will County Board into the VAC budget for that year. So once the money was awarded, it was awarded in February of 2021. The contract between AG and the VAC was signed by Jerry Ann Wiesberg on behalf of AG and Christy McNichol on behalf of the VAC on April 12, 2021. The contract was funded in one payment by Will County. Will County was a check actually from Will County made by May 1st in the amount of $495,000. So the money was fully funded basically before any work on the contract was done. Unfortunately, our finding is that once the money was funded and once work actually started to be performed, we found that there was very little oversight by both the superintendent on the agreement, and unfortunately we felt that there wasn't really a whole lot of oversight on the VAC executive committee, executive board, over the superintendent once the money was awarded and work started. It's not that no work was done. Clearly, work was done work was done on the marketing campaign, but it's our finding that the work was actually performed was not in accordance with the contract and, more importantly, the memorandum of understanding. The contract was basically, I think it was drafted by Ms. Wiesbrook and signed by Christy McNichol and Jerry Ann, and incorporated in the terms of the contract was that memorandum of understanding, where the $495,000 was going. We found very little evidence that the money that was specified in the memorandum of understanding was actually paid out. And there we have seen no invoices, no receipts, no checks to show that the services that were itemized in the memorandum of understanding were actually paid. And we have a lot of questions about that, as all of the people in this room had questions about that as well. And it just seemed that once the marketing campaign got going, there wasn't really a lot of attention paid to what was being done. We were left to piece together where the money went, based on the materials that were provided by AG in their marketing wrap-up, which was in January last year, almost a year ago. And it's not exactly clear where all the money went. Based on the information that we reviewed, and you'll see what we reviewed, it's provided in the documentation. Based on the documents that we reviewed, out of that $495,000, about $230,000, based on the spreadsheets that we looked at, was not spent. And we can't really tell what that money was spent on. One thing I forgot to say was the term of the contract was to end on January 31st of 2021. So all of the money, it would seem, by the terms of the memorandum of understanding and the contract, should have been completed by December 31st. It's not really clear that that's actually happened. There is some, and you can all read it yourself, and you can all make your conclusions, but there are questions regarding where that money all went. As we said, we're not saying that no work was done. We are just saying that the work that was demonstrated to us, the evidence that we did see, did not go along with that memorandum of understanding. And that's a real question, because that is probably first and foremost of our recommendations to the VAC. And our recommendations are very simple and they're very, very clear. The first thing that we would recommend is the Veterans Assistance Commission of Will County must recover those unspent funds from AG Consulting. Okay, because it is clear, at least to us, and the reason why we call this a draft, because you never know what contracts in the desk somewhere. We were pretty confident in our findings, but every indication is that the memorandum of understanding and the contract was not followed by the parties, because the VAC of Will County was a part of the contract as well. But first and foremost, we would recommend that the Will County Veterans Assistance Commission recover those unspent funds.
You have an idea how much?
What's that?
You have an idea, approximate idea how much was not spent?
It looks like about $230,000.
Jesus.
And you'll see, and it's one of the exhibits in the handout. Yes, sir.
Shouldn't this have been handled in a different way when it was brought to the table? Shouldn't there have been an oversight committee developed at that time in order to follow through on this from the delegation?
Well, that is one of our next recommendations going forward. Because our next recommendation would be, and it kind of goes to where I said at the beginning, is the informal way that the VAC did things in the past, because of this unprecedented emergency, didn't work too well when you're talking about appropriations of this type. So our next recommendation would be that all budget requests should be considered by the VAC moving forward. Okay? If you're going to put an executive committee or an executive board in place, in the interim between the regular meetings, it's fine for them to consider it. But our recommendation going forward that all budget requests be formally approved by a full vote of the VAC. Okay. And really, our only other recommendation is that we would recommend that the VAC, in terms of an executive board, in terms of an executive committee, in terms of the entire VAC, it would be wise in our recommendation to exercise greater supervision over the superintendent. I know, because like I said, I've come to your meetings, I watch them all on YouTube, I see the public comments. And I know there's a discussion of, well, we shouldn't even be an executive board or whatever, but then we should rewrite, I know there's an issue about rewriting the bylaws, but the way the bylaws stand now, the VAC executive committee in the bylaws exercises general supervision over the superintendent. The Military Veterans Assistance Act contemplates that also, that the VAC of any county exercise is supervision over the superintendent. Because the way the statute reads, all know how it works. The VAC doesn't spend their own money, they get their funding from the county. But it's up to the VAC to decide what, as they call it in statute, what is just and necessary. I mean, the superintendent has general supervision of the funds, but the Veterans Assistance Commission is what decides what's just and necessary. So those are our three recommendations. And you can look it through all the report, you can see what we considered, what we went over, what our findings were. Some exhibits at the end that we hope will help you with a better understanding, but that's basically what we found. Yes, sir.
In your investigation into trying to identify how much money was not spent, did that include the cooperation of the marketing company, or is that only in the documentation found at the VAC?
Well, we considered everything that was provided to us, and we requested some additional things, and we got everything that we asked for. Like I said at the beginning, from everybody.
They cooperated, the company cooperated 100%?
We did not receive anything from AG Consulting. As you can see, there's a list of who we did interview, and we interviewed, I think we interviewed all of the staff that was working at the time. I know we've spoken to everybody on this dais, in addition to probably twice as many people from the staff. There wasn't not one board member, executive or board, that did not agree to talk to us. And the former superintendent agreed to speak to us as well. We invited Ms. Wiesbrook in for an interview by mail, and she did not respond to any of, she did not respond to our request for an interview.
So just to loop back around to get that question answered, you got the cooperation of the VAC and the office and all the staff and everybody, but you did not get any cooperation from the consulting company?
We did not get any cooperation from the consulting.
What about the misspent funds? Any chance on a reversion there?
Well, that's what our recommendation, that's our first recommendation. Okay, the terms of the contract,
I thought you said the unspent funds. I'm talking about all the funds.
Well, we think that there was, $230,000 was not spent.
Right.
That's evident from what we reviewed.
I understand that. I'm talking about the misspent funds.
Well,
you intimated several times about the funds being misspent. So I'm wondering about the misspent funds.
well, that goes into questions regarding breach of contract, and that is probably something that, well, we weren't called upon to really consider whether it was an actual breach of the contract. What we did see is that the money that was agreed to be spent on behalf of the VACWC, the $350,000 for advertising, I think it was $25,000 for media creation. Those things weren't spent. They were given, VAC was given some receipts regarding radio advertising, newspaper advertising, and that's all explained in the report. And one thing I probably neglected to mention was, and this might answer your question, and I don't really know if it's going to. Haji did a marketing campaign wrap up about almost exactly a year ago. I think it was January 22nd. And they did a presentation. And there was a slide, and it's in the report, where according to HG, it says that halfway through the marketing campaign, it became clear that our organic media was having as much of an impact as our paid advertising. Now, it does go on to say that at that time, after discussions with staff, a decision was made to go away from, which we took it to mean the $350,000 that they did for media advertising, and spend it on local advertising, like newspaper advertising with Farmers Weekly. There was the radio advertising with Alpha Media. Now, the discussions that we had with the board and staff, nobody had any recollections of having those discussions with AG. So that would probably go to your question to, well, what about the money that was being spent? According to AG, after discussions with staff, there was a shift in focus. Now, none of the staff that we interviewed, including the former superintendent, recalls any such discussion. Now, we do see evidence of a shift of focus, okay? Because there are receipts provided for radio advertising, there were receipts provided for newspaper advertising. It's just a question of that shift of focus. Then we think you're talking about a breach of contract, and that's kind of above what we're trying to investigate. But we just feel that, well, $230,000 is almost half of that contract. And that's a pretty big missing number. And I think, if the VACWC in their wise determination decides that, well, they would want to go through all of it, well, that's up to the VAC. But our recommendation at minimum, I guess I would say, is to go with that remaining portion, because that's clear from the numbers that we saw. From the numbers that were provided by HG, that $230,000 was left over. Well, at the very minimum, that we should go for that. That's our number one recommendation.
So we did send over the fact that they were not using the $230,000. My question was about the other $265,000 that you intimated.
Yeah.
That you intimated was misspent.
That's as we say in the report, it's very difficult to piece together exactly where the money was spent, because all we have is a spreadsheet, and without any input from the person who actually drafted the spreadsheet, and the staff and the member boards who are present and approved it, well, that's really an open question. I'm just saying by what it looks like AG's own numbers, $230,000 were unspent, and that was not, that I can say that was not in accordance with the memorandum of understanding. Can't really say that she didn't spend any money on marketing, can't really say that she didn't spend any money on advertising, can't really say she didn't spend any money on graphic creation, but as far as exactly what was spent, we can't tell that from the information that we have. Yes, sir.
So I just have a question about the $265,000. Does that report include the total amount of receipts that were?
Well, it is, let me see if I will.
And if it does that add up to $265,000?
Well, I'll show you, and you can see it in the report, what was actually provided. Just bear with me for a second.
Well, he's looking at that. I don't think that the board or the staff has a legal department that is capable of going after.
I think the recommendation is that we hire a law firm to then file suit on behalf of the VAC.
We actually.
Or is it the secretary, you know, the attorney general? Is that who does that?
Correct.
She won't handle
I reached out to the state attorney previously, and so clearly after this report, I'll reach out to them again tomorrow to find out jurisdiction, who covers what, the state attorney has worked with us before.
Because they will make a decision on both of those, right, you know? It is a legal process, particularly, I understand that the average marketing firm went bankrupt.
I don't know about that.
Okay, that was a rumor floating, but anyway, to recover that money is requires a legal.
Obviously, there's gonna be a lot
And
of.
they can look at both of those pots, unspent pot and a misspent pot.
A lot of discussions that I have to.
First off, would be contact the state's attorney.
Yeah. Let me interject something there. During this investigation, as it was going on, we were doing our own investigation, at least I as a candidate for the board. I went into this extensively. And the way it looks is there was no oversight from the present, at that time, Will County Board of Commissioners. When it came to the $495,000, they earmarked it and paid it off to VAC with no oversight. They didn't care what happened to it, other than it was earmarked for marketing for VAC. After that, they washed their hands up completely.
You're talking about the Will County Board?
I am.
Okay.
No oversight there. So that brought it into the VAC, WC, in order to oversight it, and that wasn't done. It wasn't followed through. There was just contracts drawn up that weren't, I don't think people even understood what they were probably. And this whole thing was a fiasco at that point. To where, from a legal aspect, the way I see it, none of this was done correctly. Not from the standpoint of oversight. Because in a situation like this, it looks like there should be an oversight committee. When you're talking about that much money, there should be a budget committee that oversights it, says, okay, and that can consist of 4 or 5 people, that's our delegates, to say, hey, what are you gonna do with the money? Give us a synopsis of exactly where the money's gonna go, and then follow through after the board approves the money, continue that commission to follow through and make sure that's exactly what happens with the fund.
I think that's exactly their recommendation to us, is that, and back in theme with the whole bylaws thing, is that we need to take the power out of a small group of hands and put it into the larger group of hands, but also make sure the larger group shows up to make those decisions, right? Like those are the two problems.
That's what I'm saying, the whole body as a whole has to make those committees available and responsible to the body.
Well, in our bylaws here at the post, the commander can spend anything up to $499. Anything over $500 has to have the whole executive board.
Right, that's what
We should
most-
set a limit, because you can't go day to day asking permission to pay the gas, electric, and telephone bill.
No,
So
but
we set a limit
$495,000.
or certain procedures, like, okay, let them pay the gas, whatever certain bills that come every month.
Right.
And any special discretionary funding or anything over a certain limit has to be voted on by the whole board. And that
Absolutely.
eliminates all the nonsense, puts
Absolutely.
everything in the sunlight.
With the committee to take a look at that as it's going along, take it out of the hands of the board temporarily to say, what do you find out, follow this, and then bring your recommendation back to the body and let's see what's at.
Well, the Military Veterans Assistance Act, which is the statute that creates all this. And even though it's been amended, and even though I think, as I checked today, the most recent amendments to the VAC Act haven't yet signed by the governor, I might be mistaken about that. But the one thing really stays the same. The statute says the VACWC recommends to the Will County Board, as far as, putting the budget together, what is just as necessary. And that's not me, that's the statute that says that. The Will County Veterans Assistance Commission decides what's just and necessary. Because you all know what happens if the Will County VAC says what's just necessary, but the board doesn't allow it, well, the next thing you can do is, well, sue the county board, writ of mandamus to get the money. So, but that's really our recommendation, that it's the VAC of Will County, makes that recommendation. That's what we think should happen. I'm sorry. You didn't have a question?
No, I didn't.
Okay, you know, and so much, I thought it was a better speaker off the cuff apparently than I am, but I did find the spreadsheet and the exhibits, and when you look at the report, it's Exhibit C, I have my numbers reversed. See, and I may want to state again, the contract with AG was set to run and expire at the end of December 31st of 2021. That's when all of this money should have been accounted for. When you look at the materials that we were provided, it looks like it's broken up in total 2021 expenses and then 22 projected expenses. Well, the 2021 expenses totaled $230,000 of change. The projected expenses, which we can't find an accounting for, is more like $275,000. So it wouldn't be $230,000 that we would recommend that they go after. It's $275,000. And, you know, I would just quick to note that, you know, that those are the terms of the contract, and I know that Ms. Weisbrook, because I know I've seen her I've seen emails that she sent to Amy, and I've sent emails that she sent to Eric, that says, well, she considers her responsibilities to the board, the VAC, to be over and done with. So, you know, terms of the contract are over, but we just don't have an answer for what these 2022 projected expenses are supposed to be. So that is the unspent money on this contract, is $275,000.
But that, I still have the same question about now the 230,000 or whatever that was allegedly spent. Do you have a total of receipts that were?
We have aside from receipts, I think that were provided that were paid to Alpha Media, I believe. Receipts were requested and no invoices were given.
I'll help you out here. I already know the answer.
Okay, great.
I know most people in this room don't know the answer.
Okay.
And no one was asking questions. So I do believe that there is a total available. The office has the total receipts that were provided.
Okay.
And it doesn't come anywhere close to 230,000.
Okay, you'll see, this is what we were provided. And this is what the VAC was provided. And then, in all of the FOIA requests that were made, and the many times that the various members have requested those receipts, that was what was provided. Yes, sir.
I was wondering, you said Alpha Media got most of the money?
I'm not saying they got most of the money.
Well, they got a good share. My question is, who owns Alpha Media? Who are
We don't know. At least, I don't know, none of the
they? That'd
investigation.
be a real good thing to find out, wouldn't it?
Well,
I personally, I would like to know.
well,
Is it his sister-in-law or his next-door neighbor or something?
who's next door neighbor?
Whoever took all this money.
Well, I would imagine that.
I never heard of him before.
I would imagine that if the decision is ever made to pursue at least the unspent portions of this contract, then I would imagine that somebody who has the subpoena power and the court's jurisdiction might be able to find out the answer to those questions. But that was not among our purview to find out what kind of interest anybody had in Alpha Media. That's not something that we were asked to find out.
I understand, thank you.
Just out of curiosity, what tracking procedure was in place? Because I know at a post level, I have to count line by line by line where every penny was spent.
Well, that's clearly, when you talk about lack of oversight, and you talk about whether it was the VAC or the superintendent, that wasn't done here. Once the money was funded, once the contract was signed, And once Will County paid the money, and you'll see, when you see from our report, there really wasn't a lot of oversight of the superintendent over the contract. And there really wasn't a lot of back and forth and updates and explanations from the superintendent to the VAC. I think at one point there was one request, maybe in August of that year, for an update from AG about everything that was going. I don't know if that was ever.
Can I? So, the VAC, through COVID, we were awarded 7 different instances for grants totaling $1,491,600.51. It was my responsibility to maintain oversight of the grants as far as reports, expenditures, receipts, and things of that nature. And I can tell you to the penny, to the second, where every dollar went except for marketing. So I have spreadsheets. I can account, again, the $1,491,000 minus $495,000 wherever, because it's federal dollars. I have to submit a report to the federal government with every receipt, accounting for every penny. This one specific, and again, I know there's questions whether it's federal money, whether it's not, I'm not getting into that, but I did ask from day one, who is keeping an eye on this? Am I getting the receipts? How are we keeping control of what money has been spent? Are we getting the product? And I was told I have no oversight over this one specific one. So if anybody wants to see any of them.
So you were never given receipts?
I received receipts not from AG Marketing, I received them from the actual vendors, so from Alpha Media and from Farmers Weekly. So tangibly, we have receipts from those two vendors that can account to a certain dollar, and I didn't do that exact dollar, but it comes to around $30,000. But I have no receipts, and it was asked a few times in the FOIA request for receipts to see where this money was going, and I can't produce anything because I did not have it.
How is it made available to you at all?
Yes, sir.
You have a request?
Yes, sir.
How is this money transferred from Will County to the VAC to the vendor?
It was, so there was a resolution, once the county board approved it, there was a resolution that was created, and then the treasurer's office puts it directly into our professional services line item, like it was explained. I submitted then, a request through D365, that's our finance, system that we use to request payment, but you have to remember as well, the way the NDA is set up, the county has basically zero say in how we spend that money. It's up to the commission, so I can submit whatever I want and say, basically, you have to pay this. So when I submitted the request for the payment for the $495, I sent the,
Okay, how is the money transferred to the vendor?
so it's electronic.
So it's in an account that we have?
Yes, sir. So the money was put into our budget line item, and then when I submitted payment, that goes to the treasurer's department. They then remove that money from our budget line item and direct deposit it into AG's account. So it's all electronic. And I have the electronic paper trail. You can see exactly how and when it happened.
And every penny was accounted for?
From leaving our bank account, I can tell you $495,000 left that specific line item and was direct deposited into the bank account that we were given by the vendor. I see it leave, I have no idea what happened to it after that.
To bring to light the, Wayne just brought something to my attention. WJOL is owned by Alpha Media. That'll give you a lead into it.
So it's radio media,
Radio
radio stations?
I think it's Q-Rock, yeah, so they're having radio ads.
That's Alpha Media.
It's very common.
Okay, well, which is important, but what's most important, according to this investigation, was that, you know, the contract was between the VAC and AG. And we only know, based on the contract itself, what the terms of that contract was. Well, the memorandum of understanding, which you'll see in the materials, well, that was incorporated into the contract between the VAC and AG. The terms of that memorandum of understanding, you're not going to see Alpha Media on that.
No, because that was a vendor.
Yeah,
Under
right.
contract.
But then there's that whole issue about halfway through the project, it was decided among staff, change of focus, you know, that's where things kind of, one of the times that things get a little,
Again, to sum the whole thing up, it just failed oversight. And again, what you stated about your questions about the funds and your responses, their response to you, highlights that. It highlights the fact that they had direct contact and control over it, and they did whatever they wanted to do. And for whatever reason, the members of the delegation just wrote it through. And that's what it looked like to me. I wasn't part of that delegation, but I can see that that's what happened. It's apparent that that's what happened. They said, we're doing this, here's what we want to do, vote on it. And they voted it up and went ahead and did whatever they wanted to do. And from that point on, there was no oversight.
well, but there was, and as I said at the beginning, there was a time where that kind of informality, you know, it worked. But I think in this particular instance, with what we were all confronted with and what we were all faced with, well, that doesn't work so well in that instance. So this whole thing, we approach it with how to help the VAC better fulfill their mission to the veterans. And by these recommendations and what we found and the reason why we feel that what happened, well, we think that's the best way to go forward. Yes, sir.
So to get the meeting moving along, because we can't all be here all night, there are 3 recommendations. The second 2 are on us, clearly. We need more oversight, more control over what the office does.
Over budgeting.
And we need to make sure that we are being more controlling of the budget, right?
Yes.
Like, so those are the second 2 recommendations. And we're attempting to address that in the bylaws and things like that to make sure that we're involving a larger group than just having a small group that informally does, right? We're working on it. And as far as the first one, we need to make a motion to pursue legal action, or is this just going to happen automatically?
We need a motion for.
And what would be the appropriate motion to make to pursue it with the state's attorney, is that right?
Right, do you think we should take the month until February to review the draft and then come back in February with?
Yeah, I mean, that's cool. I just wanna move along, and I don't wanna like stop people from asking questions, but I'm starting to hear the same question and the same things.
The federal contract, you're well within the statute of limitations, but
yeah,
the sooner you act, take a month to digest this.
Or a few weeks.
I'll make that motion. That we take a month, the rest of the month of January and February, to look this whole situation over, work it into the bylaws as well, wait a minute, and to present this by the administration of the VAC right now to the state's attorney, and see if there's malice been done. If they feel there's enough, take it to the AG, take it to the Attorney General, and let the Attorney General
Confer with
the state and find out, do they think that there's been fraudulent action possibly here that they need to pursue? Let them pursue it, because it is government funds.
So there is a motion on the table. Go ahead and restate. Simple.
All I was gonna say was, Larry, that's a lot in emotion.
It is a lot in emotion.
That's hard
That's a motion that we go ahead and check the whole thing out with the state's legal system. And then come back in the next meeting and look and see what we got.
February.
I would say February, we should have enough time.
We only got like 2.5 weeks.
Yeah,
The next meeting.
Oh, yeah, it's gonna be March then, and until we get an answer back. Yeah, when we can get back in here, take a look at what we got at the legal system, take a look at what they got, and see, is it something that we can do, whatever we have to do.
This is our draft report, and the reason why we put it out as a draft, because like I said, we put our findings out there. Well, somebody finds out, well, you mentioned that nothing, this was never discussed, or this was never brought to the board. Well, here's a letter I found at the bottom of somebody's desk drawer. So that's why we do it as a draft, because we put them out there. I don't think our findings will materially change. Our recommendations surely won't change. If there really is no, changes or revisions, which I can't really foresee any, it wouldn't take that long to make this draft into a final report.
There's a motion on the floor, which I still don't quite.
Draft.
Understand.
I'm just making the only thing.
Wait, one guy at a
Keep
time.
it simple.
But I think the motion is to have the staff confer with the state's attorney as to the next steps.
Correct. Well, we have 22 copies of the draft investigation. And we can provide any additional copies that were
You
needed.
can provide an electronic copy too.
We can print it off,
Yeah, we
so
can make copies.
if there is an electronic copy, we can print it. I don't think we should email it.
Okay.
We only have 13 votes here right now.
A comment about the committee to oversight, I think that may not be the best way to do it.
There's still a motion on the floor, folks.
Which hasn't seconded yet.
No, but we've already gone to this.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor. Before we can entertain further motions,
Could you read the motion?
the motion is to authorize Jen, in her official capacity, to engage with the Will County State's Attorney to review the draft and make recommendations to the commission as far as legal steps to take.
I'll second that motion. 725.
725 seconds.
Thank you, Jenny. I already had discussion.
Yeah, 1288 voting.
1288 was the first.
You have to roll call.
I think we have to roll call this one, because again, we're talking about going outside of the commission, so we should roll call.
Okay, 1200 Monique, 1080 Joliet, 935 Manhattan,
Yes.
521 Seeger, 392 Peatone, 241 Joliet Buffalo Soldiers, 191 Wilmington,
Yes.
52 Romeoville,
Yes.
39 Braidwood, 18 Lockport,
Agree.
13 Plainfield,
Yes?
1288 Bolingbrook,
Yes. Yes. Whoops.
Post 5 Harwood,
You answered for me.
9545 New Lenox,
Yes.
5917 Bolingbrook,
Yes.
5788 Lockport,
Yes.
5422 Wilmington,
Yes.
2199 Joliet Stone City, 1493 Frankfurt, 725 Mokina,
Yes.
367 Joliet, Kansas.
Yes.
Thirteen yes, the motion carries. All right, next item.
Well, I would discuss, in the discussion, you talked about having a committee, and I don't know that a committee is the best way to provide oversight.
I don't think that was his suggestion.
No. The committee won't.
That'll be on the bylaw committee, so.
We can talk about that right now,
Yeah.
because the next, order of business is bylaw committee. Is there anybody else here from the bylaw committee who would like to speak other than myself? I don't know, we don't have a chairman. So, say again?
You're speaking.
Okay, I'm speaking.
Go for it.
We haven't had a chance to meet. I've tried twice, to get a date between now and our last, meeting. And both times we didn't get enough people to get together. So, right now that bylaw committee consists of, 6 folks. Steve Benecki, I've got some correspondence from him where he dropped out due to just inability to participate due to other things. I'd really like to see this committee get down to 4 people to make it easier to actually move forward with some business. So if there's anyone, I have Amanda Cook, Ken Griffin, Jennifer Peel, Bobby Welsh, and Robert Angone, and myself. And if anyone is interested but isn't able to make it to meetings and things like that, the meetings are going to be open. You can still be there. However, we're really trying to move this forward, and without being able to get 4 people in a room on one, or without being able to get the requisite number of people in the room on one day, it makes it really hard to move forward. So,
Can't you, sorry to interrupt, but if you got 6 people on a committee, you got 4, you got a majority, just go with 4 people.
we didn't get 4.
You should have.
Huh?
You're kidding.
No. I tried twice. So anyway, those folks that are on the committee, I'm gonna send an email out asking if everyone really wants to be on the committee. And we'll try to get this, if I get anybody that backs out, then I'll provide the documentation to the office so that they've got that, and then we might actually get a quorum together for the bylaws committee. So that is really the only report. Now, to address your question about what the recommendation was, if I'm understanding correctly, the recommendation wasn't that we necessarily form a budgetary committee, but that the commission as a whole participates more when it comes to spending money.
I don't have any problem with that, but I think, like Jen talked about, she's the project manager for 3 different, 7, you have to have one person who's responsible, and if it's not somebody who's on the staff, you get a project manager who provides oversight.
Yes.
To do that.
And someone that would give the commission a report during our meetings, and then that way, if there is money that's going to be spent, it isn't a small group of people that makes that decision, it's the great.
Yeah, the decision for that, but the oversight needs to be focused so that it doesn't get diffused and they're pointing fingers.
And that's going, I think that's going to be one of the main subjects of the bylaws committee, is trying to figure out how we can involve a greater group of people, but then not wind up in situations like we did last week when we tried to have a meeting but couldn't because we didn't have a quorum. Same thing at the committee level, things like that. So
I'd like to make a motion, if I may, a simple one, that if we don't get a quorum together, if we can't produce a quorum on this budget committee by the next meeting.
This isn't the budget committee, this is the
bylaws committee, that we disband the bylaws committee and reform it by people that will do the job, or can do the job.
I think too, we also have to take into consideration, I don't know how familiar everybody is with the trailer bill that was unanimously voted on yes, but it's still being decided by the governor. A lot of these issues are solved in here. So I think March 1st is the deadline maybe that it will go into effect. It hasn't been signed, but I think this will solve a lot of the problems that we're having now without there having to be discussion.
Yeah, and the goal of the bylaws committee, at least one of my goals, was to include the MBAA, the trailer bill, and together in building the new bylaws. And you're building, and we don't have to call them bylaws, but whatever. The trouble isn't that we don't have ideas, the trouble is that we don't have the people, right? So, but there's a motion on the floor.
There is a motion to abolish the current
Bylaws
bylaw
committee.
committee and form a bylaw committee of 4 members, although all members of the commission are welcome to join the meetings.
Yes.
4 members will be providing advice to the commission regarding bylaw changes. We had a mission, we had a motion, I'm not sure we got it captured.
It's on the second. It's on.
Is that,
He's gonna go back and get that? Okay.
is that your
So,
motion?
Yeah. Okay, good.
Yeah. Well, we got a second, but we don't have it recorded by the Secretary.
We got a second, we've got it on the tape. We have a motion, we need a roll call vote?
Well,
What is it?
discussion. So
I have a
what
question,
if we-
discussion,
if-
Discussion, okay.
If you took the person who said they couldn't participate anymore, if we voted them off, you'd have 5, and then you'd only.
No, the person who couldn't participate puts us at 6. Because we had 7.
Oh, okay.
We had 7, one said they couldn't, so we have 6, so now.
Okay, I misunderstood you.
I have a question. At the last meeting where the committee was established, I don't believe the motion included a number of people on the committee.
It didn't?
However, it was discussed, but I don't think it was voted on who was on the committee. It was just discussed.
It wasn't voted on who was on the committee. And this is, I'm new to this, right? As a commander of the VFW, I appoint the committee. Here, it's a little bit different, and I'm not sure how this goes, but for the meeting minutes, the bylaw review committee consists of myself, Amanda Cook, Ken Griffin, Stephen Ecke, Jennifer Peel, Bobby Welsh, Robert Angone. So, however, that made it into the minutes. This is what the bylaw committee is right now. And this is what I have to go by as far as if we're if we're getting a bylaws committee meeting together, this is the list. And the only person I can take this off is Steve, because I've got correspondence saying that he withdraws. So, but we've got a motion and a second on the floor to abolish this committee, and I'm assuming we'd have to have a motion and a second to then reestablish and then get 4 people on it only. But
So the first question was a motion to abolish the current committee and create a new committee consisting of 4 members.
Oh, okay, so it's a combined, okay, got it.
One vote gets you 2 answers.
And we'll name them.
That's the way to do
Next.
it. Wasn't that way to volunteer?
And it was seconded, so we.
Any questions about,
Everybody was volunteer.
everybody understand what you're voting on?
Yes, abolishing the current committee and then put 4 people on a new committee.
Clark was first, even though I've stated it 3 or 4 times, and Mr. Angel second.
Okay. 1200 Boney, 1080 Joliet, 935 Manhattan.
Yes.
521 Steger, 392 Peatone, 241 Joliet Buffalo Soldiers, 191 Wilmington, 52 Romeoville,
Yes.
39 Braidwood, 18 Lockport,
Aye.
13 Plainfield,
Yes.
1288 Bolingbrook,
Yes.
Post 5 Harwood,
Yes.
9545 New Lenox,
Yes.
5917 Bolingbrook,
Yes.
5819 Lamont, 5788 Lockport,
Yes.
5422 Wilmington,
Yes.
Joliet Stone City, 1493 Frankfurt, 725 Mokina,
Yes.
367 Joliet Kansas.
Yes.
We have a bylaw committee now with no members, but we are going to limit that committee to 4 members, while all commission members are welcome to join when they publish the meetings.
Yes.
That allows us to make quorum under the law, under the OMA. So if I over-explain, I'm sorry, but I think honestly, what we got into with the money and other things was a lot of times, we were going very quickly in some of our earlier meetings, and people voted because the person near them voted yes, but they might not have completely. So if we're ever at a point where you really aren't sure what we're voting on, ask. And whoever's sitting here should be more than willing to make sure that everybody understands what we're committing to as a group.
There are no members on the board bylaw committee currently.
There are currently no members, so we need 4 members.
Can we nominate, or, like, do we have to nominate and elect, or, because if everybody volunteers and puts their hand up.
Are there more than 4 people in the room that are gonna commit to how many days a week or how many weeks long, what are we talking?
I'm in.
Okay. I'm in if there's space. If someone else wants to do it, I'm happy to just, be an observer.
Well, there's
So we have
4, myself, Robert.
You know exactly when you're gonna meet.
Not yet, but it's probably gonna be on Mondays over at Mokina, cause we've got some good space over there, right? Those
Yeah.
Mondays, yeah.
Yeah, the coldest beer in Will County.
No, the name.
That's the reason I'm asking,
As
it's
a staff
completely
member,
nice,
needs
yeah,
to also be
meeting.
present.
We
at-
can try.
Right, we need to coordinate it with the office so that someone will properly capture. Same thing
Absolutely.
goes to the HR, anybody doing the hiring. We need to make sure that that is properly captured for the records. Yes. The four that self-nominated was Clark, Larry, Robert, Lisa, myself. We're gonna do it one more time. Do we have a motion to accept those four members?
I'll make the motion.
Okay, Mike Myers makes a motion. Second? Steve?
Before you vote, I have
Oh, sure.
a comment. Will this be put out to all members at their meetings where he opened it to all members?
It's gonna put
How
out.
they gonna know
It'll
that's
be
not here?
It'll be a public notice, just like our meeting notice. Because we're following the OMA, we're gonna follow the law. in
That's what I
Illinois.
wanna make sure of.
And when we follow the law, it means that we have to put it out 72 hours or 2 business, there's a number.
Yes.
There's a number.
I'll
It'll
send
be
you an
posted on our
agenda.
Facebook page as well as our
Thank you.
website,
I expect to see you there.
as well as at the location of the meeting, in accordance with all that.
So that was the motion.
Okay, so,
Did we get a first and second? We got a second.
yeah, Mike Myers and Steve. Okay. Yeah, that's what I. And Mike Myers, right? Yeah. 1200 Monique, 1080 Joliet, 935 Manhattan, 521 Seeger, 392 Peatone, Joliet Buffalo Soldiers, 191 Wilmington,
Yes.
52 Romeoville,
Yes.
39 Braidwood, 18 Lockport,
Aye.
13 Plainfield. 13 Plainfield?
Yes.
1288 Bolingbrook,
Yes.
Post 5 Harwood,
Yes.
9545.
Yes.
5917 Bolingbrook,
Yes.
5788 Lockport,
Yes.
5422 Wilmington. Yes. Joliet Stone City, 1493 Frankfurt, 725 Mokina,
Yes.
367 Joliet Cantigny.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep, 13 ayes, the motion carries. Okay, the next item is the superintendent hiring committee. Is there anyone in attendance from that committee?
Okay.
Is that you?
I guess I'm the only one in attendance. We've not had a meeting. One person was supposed to be out of town, was supposed to be back the 23rd, I guess he's not here. Janet's MIA and Amanda Blue's MIA. I don't really know how to go forward. I'm about ready to turn it over to the staff and just let them decide to hire, since they know what they need. But Michael Myers said he wouldn't be part of it, so we have two of us.
I'll join you.
All right, I'm just doing the same thing then, don't people out, and rejoin.
Discussion? There's no motion,
What is-
discussion?
Are you suggesting that we do the same thing we did with the bylaws committee?
Well, we don't have the people that are gonna. I'm having the same problem you're having.
How many people are on your committee?
Look at your paper, I think it was 4 or 5. It was 5. I got my paper. It should be right next to yours.
I got a suggestion of what it's worth. Why don't we just have 4 people on a committee, 2 of us from the Post and 2 that actually work in the office? If they know what's day in and day out, I have no idea what the superintendent's job is, they would know.
No, Mike, I can forward you an email that I sent to Jen, asking her what they are looking for, because I'm in the same boat as you. You were an operator at 150, I was a mechanic 150. You wanna know how to turn a wrench, I'll tell you. You wanna operate a machine, you can tell me,
Right.
right?
We should
And
ask them.
You know, John asking her for her advice. Because I don't know what they need.
Why don't we get 2 people on the committee? Nobody else wants to do it, the other 3 that volunteered didn't even show up tonight. Yes,
Further discussion,
sure.
little history. We did put the job out shortly after Christie departed. So May last year, I was asked to review that because of my history and background in that. We put it out, we got a group of individuals, but we kind of went back and forth, and I know there's a tape, but there was some manipulation because the bid was put out in such a way that no one on the staff was eligible to apply. And
You mean the current VAC
the
staff
current
that are?
VAC staff, none of them would have been eligible to apply in the manner in which it was posted publicly based on a vote of this commission.
Wouldn't it make sense if somebody that's there every day be promoted to the superintendent?
But again, the decision was made and put to the commission that an education requirement would be put in and not be an experience requirement, but an education requirement. But we already have the job announcement. Will County has it. They could put it up for a rolling 2 weeks right now. And then we just have a group of people come together and review the resumes. The one thing that I would like to make a motion is that we go back to the original announcement that does not contain an education requirement, but instead contains an experience requirement.
I would agree with that 100%. I put that in the form of a motion, because I got an 8th grade education, I made it this far. You don't need a college degree to tell you know what you're doing.
We've got a lot of first sergeants out there that may or may not have a college degree, but they do a heck of a job of running a unit. I don't think we should preclude someone.
I put in a form of motion, we accept all applications,
No.
and I mean, we can find out who's a rummy and who's a dummy.
Okay,
We
so
can find a winner somewhere.
my motion would be that we go back to the original job, and okay, you want a question before I make a motion?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
You as the pro temp president
Uh.
can entertain the motion.
Right.
You can't make it.
So my,
Incorrect.
So my, yeah, suggestion or the.
And Mike says he will make the motion and I will second it.
So, right, so.
We already have a motion.
My question would be, we have a motion on the floor, right, so now we have to just determine, do we wanna go with that first motion?
Yeah, the motion on the floor.
The motion on the floor was to do the same thing we did with the other committee, and
I'm gonna withdraw that.
restate it. Are you withdrawing the
I'm
motion?
withdrawing that. I'd like to make a new motion then, to make it legal, since you can't always be able to fight on it, that might be.
Mike's ready to make a motion.
Yeah, I make a motion that we remove the restriction for education or training, whatever, and we find the best candidate available according to our committee, whoever we find. Experience.
Second?
Yeah, John second, right?
And that gives us some time to pick a group of people or, I will tell you that we also already have a spreadsheet to put the names in and tick off all of the requirements, just like you've done in military or government, anytime you've worked those kind
You
of
do
jobs.
have a list of applicants of people that do want the job now.
I don't, what I have is a template for, when we get names, we'll make sure that we.
So if
tick
we
off
make it
yes.
public in this meeting, we vote on this, then all applicants can be accepted, and the committee can weed through.
Yeah, it'll go
And then
through
it'll
the,
come down to the final vote according to the committee's vote.
right, it'll go through the Will County hiring process, which is what we use generally anyway, and it says they have to be a veteran, and we can remove the education restriction.
In the interest of time, Mike could actually include the other motion which was withdrawn.
You already have a motion.
Yeah, we gotta get this
He
one
would-
first, we gotta
he
set it
would-
down.
We got a new motion.
Otherwise,
If
we
he includes
have-
that, then you only got one vote on both.
We already have a second, so I can't
Motion
really,
already seconded.
we have to withdraw it and restart, yeah. Let's do this cleaner way. Everybody understand what Mike's motion is? Anyone have any questions about Mike's motion? have a second? So, roll call.
Roll call.
Talk slow.
1200 Joliet.
No.
1080 Joliet. 935 Manhattan. 521 Seeger. 392 Peatone. 241 Joliet Buffalo Soldiers.
So make me yell.
191 Wilmington. 52 Romeoville.
Yes.
39 Braidwood. 18 Lockport.
Hey. Hi.
13 Plainfield. 1288 Bolingbrook. Post 5 Harwood.
Yes.
9545 New Lenox.
Just for what it's worth, I think you did.
5917 Bolingbrook.
Appreciate it.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
5788 Lockport.
Yes.
5422 Wilmington. Joliet Stone City. 1493 Frankfurt. 725 Mokina.
Yes.
And 367 Cantigny.
Yes.
All right, how many veterans in the room? Who hasn't had to go to the bathroom like almost in public?
5-hour meetings are killing me.
13 yeses.
13 yeses?
Yes. Got it?
13 yeses, the motion carries. Okay, delegate forms, the next item.
Did
Oh, did I miss somebody?
No, but we talked about who's gonna be on the committee, is it gonna change?
Do we want to do that now?
Good, I mean, we're talking about that right now.
We're gonna abolish it, we just abolished it.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah, so
So we'll need some folks to review resumes and pick the right candidate.
How many people should we have?
And because without the restriction, that could mean somebody in the office. I would want somebody to have to review a peer and make a determination, so.
I'd like to make a
Mike,
motion. We had 2 commission members here and 2 people that work in the office. Maybe an extra one for a tiebreaker.
I don't think anybody in the office should do the initial, because like Lisa said, it could be one of us applying, so we shouldn't be reviewing each other's, it should be commissioned.
All right, so if we had 3 different posts or veterans out on this end, not that work in the office, we would have the overriding vote. The
I
first
think
vote.
when it would come to interviews, once the commission has a pool of people that they want to interview, then the staff would step in and be part of the interview process, but I think the
Okay.
initial pool should
Do
be.
you wanna just leave it out to us?
And there will be, the final recommendation will come to the commission. The 3 or few people won't make a final hiring decision.
Oh, it's a recommendation.
It's a recommendation to the
Recommendation.
commission. Right.
That's good.
So your motion?
My motion is that we set up a committee, whatever people consensus is. How many members of the posts here?
I think,
3 is.
I think 3 would be plenty.
I'll agree with that.
And I'll volunteer.
I'll volunteer.
Do volunteer.
I'm the alternate for
And they said I couldn't make a motion.
We have a motion and a second to establish
Okay.
resume review committee.
So hiring
3.
committee?
Hiring committee of
Who are
3.
the 3 people?
Well, we have to form the committee and then that, right?
You got 5 volunteers, you need
Or do we
3.
just do it all at once? Cause I saw like 5 or 6 people raise their hand and do it.
Okay, so let's,
Mike was the first,
okay, got it.
and I think, Clark was the second. Right?
No, somebody else was, but you
Well,
put it down a
so
second.
who seconded, Larry?
Whatever works.
Do we have a second? Well, I got,
Don't I have to make the motion to abolish the old committee first?
I thought that was.
You did it, that already, that's over.
I was make sure. I wanna make sure it was abolished.
We don't know. So who is willing to be on the committee?
Wayne over here, he's got
Wayne.
experience.
Good.
Can an alternate be on the committee? Okay.
Who was the second on this motion? You got a second? Yeah, Clark. Yeah, Clark seconded. Mike was, Rob, no, it was Rob. Who made the motion?
I'll second it.
Mike and Rob. I said Clark.
Rob said.
My mistake. I said Clark. It was Rob. Okay.
Are you a delegate right now?
I am, yeah,
Are you an alternate for both?
he's an alternate for the same post, I don't think they can speak to it.
Well,
Can an alternate be on the committee?
No, or both.
Yeah, but I wouldn't know.
Yeah, there's something that kind of, if somebody alternate can be on a committee,
Sure.
so you're making a recommendation, you're not voting.
And the only authority for this committee is to review the resumes and kind of cull out those that wouldn't be qualified and put their make a recommendation.
To the board for a full vote.
All right, once everybody knows what they're voting on. It's a committee of three, and we know who those three are.
Who are the three?
Raise your hands if you're one of the three.
I don't think it's a good idea if you have a committee of three to have two people from the same post.
Okay.
Perception.
They're not.
Perception.
Yeah, they are from the same
We
post.
get third person, I'll get rid of
This guy on the end, he's way over here. Jennifer, Larry,
I'm not against either one, you know, as.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
no, fine.
All are welcome to the committee.
Anybody can come in. You know, we're not gonna preclude anybody from this.
You start third?
Although you can, because it's a personnel matter, you don't have to be part of three.
No, it doesn't actually like.
And then.
The public. The general public. Yeah.
We have to vote on the motion.
We didn't vote on it, and then they're saying that was gonna be on it.
There, you can amend the motion.
Yeah. So we,
Could you read the names of the people who you think are on this one?
Well,
So we're still in discussion. We've got a second, but we may need to amend if we want to include the three names in the motion so that we can put it to rest and those three people know who they are. Otherwise, we'll go through two votes. One is, yes, we want to go ahead with this committee. And then the next one is, yes, these are three people. So
Mike, you would need to amend your
you would
motion.
need to amend your motion, but first, the discussion is still which three. Do we have three people that would be interested, and who are those three people, and are there any objections to the three people that are interested? Raise your hand. Okay. So we've got Larry, Mike, and Jen. Sorry, Jennifer, Jen, which is better? Jen, Jennifer, either one.
So if we got four people, then you can just individually vote on.
Well, that means we would have to have three at the meeting for sure, to have any meeting at all.
But I mean, saying tonight, we're gonna vote on the motion, and if it passes, then we gotta vote three people on the committee, and we got four volunteers, so we just run down the list of names and.
Or you
No.
amend your motion to name those people and make that, you withdraw your first motion and amend your motion to include the names.
I can't tell somebody not to volunteer, I don't feel right doing that.
I'll resign.
You resign?
Yeah, as long as you're
Sure.
three.
So we got
If somebody
three.
can't make it, then let me know.
no, that's four, and then.
So with three,
Three out of four.
two, with four, you need three to show up to do anything, to have any discussions at all.
You can open the meeting.
Okay.
Alright, so then I make the motion that we, yeah, what I said.
So.
I forgot it.
With the three names.
What are the three names?
If you could stand up, if
Larry,
you're
Mike,
volunteering to be
Jen.
on the committee. Sorry, if you can't stand, don't stand, but you can.
Take a vote on the motion. I think we got it.
Now we want your
Thank
motion,
you.
so make your motion
That's what
amend.
he's trying to do, is amend the motion.
Motion to amend the three names.
So Mike, you're doing a.
My original motion,
to
myself
amend-
and these two other folks are volunteer. I'd like to make a motion, we get elected to do the board for the hiring of a new superintendent. Doing the interviews, bring a recommendation for a full vote to the full board, the full
Motion to
commission.
amend to make those three parties.
All right.
part of the-
So I need a second on that.
I'll second it.
Second. Do we have any questions, discussion? Is everybody okay with what we're voting on? And this is a personnel matter and all that, so let's keep it very clear.
1200 Moni, 1080 Joliet, 935 Manhattan,
Yes.
521 Seeger, 392 Peatone, 241 Joliet Buffalo Soldiers, 191 Wilmington, 52 Romeoville,
Yes.
39 Braidwood, 18 Lockport,
Yes.
13 Plainfield, 1288 Bolingbrook,
Yes.
Post 5 Harwood,
Yes.
9545 New
Yes.
Lenox, 5917 Bolingbrook,
Yes.
5788 Lockport,
Yes.
5422 Wilmington, 2199 Joliet Stone City, 1493 Frankfurt, 725 Mokina,
Yes.
367 Cantigny.
Yes.
Motion is amended.
Our final formality is now that we have voted to amend the motion, we're gonna do a voice vote to accept it. Make sense? Okay. So all those in favor of the amended motion to create the hiring committee of the three individuals that were named, that stood up. All in favor?
Aye.
Nays? Abstain? The motion carries. We've got a delegate forms. Is that who you're you?
So, delegate forms, January 1st, take the 31st, technically, we're certified mail to every post. Does anybody have one now that they would like to turn in? Anybody here not received one to the best of their knowledge? So, we'll get.
I'll send it to you personally, if you can get it, because I
Thank you.
sent it to the county.
Okay, wonderful, thank you. So, yeah, no, if it went to the county.
Well, I sent it to BAC, WC.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right, so Anna Marie is a point of contact for receiving all the forms, so we'll keep a running spreadsheet of what forms we have received.
Yes.
March 1st is the deadline to receive those forms, so please, I will start hounding you within the next couple of weeks if I have not received them from your post. Are there any questions?
If you're affiliated with any other posts, make sure they get them in too. Every post, whether they have somebody on this list, whether they have somebody on the current board, every post got the letter. Every post got those delegate forms. If they want to represent on the board, get on. This is,
That includes AMBED, PAD, all of the other organizations that are not represented, because right now we have the FW American Legion, but there are other veteran organizations that are active in the community that have a voice that can be represented on this commission.
Did those get sent out certified mail like the one I got?
Yes, sir.
How many got returned?
I cannot answer.
I'm sorry, how many green cards did you get back from the certified mail?
How many got rejected?
Oh, rejected?
Yeah, how many came back to you?
As in not signed for?
Yeah, right.
American Legion 1291 Creed, Seeger VFW 8283, and American Legion Post 241.
Would you like to reach out to them personally?
I've called every single Legion post in this county today personally myself. Two people, the Buffalo Soldiers showed up because I called them,
Thank you.
and two other Legions showed up. The people in M2 that you mentioned there, haven't heard from them in months.
So I'll reach out
Actually,
to
years,
the
some of them.
state to verify that they're still.
I'll
active.
personally, if you give me them letters, I'll hand deliver them tomorrow.
I'm sure you will.
I'll
If
drive
there's
down there
any
and show them their
members-
ass.
If you know anybody that are members of that post, they can bring it to the commander for for signature. If they wanna volunteer, contact the members. Go from the grassroots, go from the bottom up. You don't always have to start with the commander. Commander might just be ready to sign it and go.
They may not be active too, so we have to verify the state that they're still active.
I want to make a clarification here. We only want people participating that want to participate.
They'll miss
If-
the forum if they're not.
If we're just trying to get delegates, we're gonna wind up in a situation that we're in right now where we have delegates that never show up. So though I agree with going to the post and soliciting the participation, I think it's important to stress the soliciting of the participation, not the soliciting of the filling out the delegate form.
But remember, for the MBA, we have to have the majority of participation from the post. So there is a number that we have to fill in the county. So that's why we encourage participation, because we have to have at least half plus one quorum for participation from the post.
From the posts that have delegates, right?
No.
Yeah, all the
posts, we
posts.
have to have.
I agree with your point, trying to push them into it where they're not gonna show, yeah, whatever. But see, I never knew the VAC existed until somebody explained it to me, and I was a commander for years. Wayne actually, I think, is the one that told me about the VAC. And then we've always had a representative active on the board, and we've been represented, Vic Martinko, past president, is at every meeting, never missed.
But then Clark, also talking about participation, just so
Somebody
you
in the
know,
post might
with
not
the
know.
bylaws, the majority of the other VACs actually only have quarterly meetings because there's an issue with quorum and
Yeah.
participation, so that cuts back on the obligation. So we can talk more when it comes to the bylaws for that, but anything we can do to encourage participation,
Yeah.
so we have quorum.
A lot easier to make 4 meetings a year than it is 12.
I mean, look, right now it's past our time. Recording device update, just so everybody is aware, per OMA, when the commission goes into closed sessions, there has to be a verbatim recording. There is a recorder that was in possession of the previous Secretary Denise Williams. We do not have possession of that recorder, we do not have the verbatim recordings, nor do we have any transcribed minutes from those. We are working to get that back, but as of right now, there are, I think, 7 closed meetings that we have no idea what happened. We don't have the verbatim recording for them, we don't have the minutes, we don't know what was discussed. There were things that were voted on in those closed minutes that we don't know. So just so you're aware, we are working on obtaining that recorder, and I'll keep you updated as that goes through. Any questions about that? Okay, moving on. I'm sorry.
No, I was gonna say, that's for the good commission.
For the good of the commission, I think it's the standard here. I do want to touch base on something that is not here that I'm very proud of. Joe Martin, I'm sure as you all know, is our veteran peer support specialist. He's an Army veteran. He's not here tonight. Joe and I were invited to go to the Will County Treatment Court graduation, which includes veterans. Previously, the VAC has really not been involved with this, but we are moving forward, going to have an active role in the Veterans Treatment Court because they are our fellow brothers and sisters going through this program. So we had the privilege of attending the graduation last week. There were 5 veterans who graduated from the treatment court. If you're not familiar with it, I encourage you to look it up or come with us to go check it out. It's a really good program. They don't distinguish, from my understanding, specifically in the veterans, whether it's mental health or felonies. I think Mr. Tyner could probably speak greater to this than I can about the Veterans Treatment Court. But just, you know, Joe is going to be participating, again, actively in this day of court every Wednesday morning at 9:30. It was very eye-opening and encouraging to see this program and how it's run. So we will, like I said, as a VAC, be taking a more active role in participating and supporting to make sure that those veterans are receiving their benefits, that they are enrolled in VA healthcare if they're eligible. Joe weekly has a peer support group, so we can get them involved in that regard. So I'm working collaboratively with the program director, Dr. Dubois. I'm very excited as well to have us start participating in this. So that was very exciting. Also, moving forward, Greg Weiza, who do, every Tuesday is the BAC at Orland Park to capture the east side of Will County going into Cook County. Every other Thursday, we'll also be going to the Joliet Seahawk to start seeing veterans there to file claims. So again, we're expanding our outreach to start getting out more into the community. So we'll start with every other Thursday. But from what I understand, it sounds like there is a need there also to help file claims. So we'll try and capture the veterans as they're coming out of appointments or going into appointments. Kind of be a one-stop shop. We were initially supposed to be moving into the Copperfield building that was right there. I did speak with the county this morning regarding that building, and they said plan on not moving. So we'll talk about that next month.
Yeah, but Clark, you raised the point about the next meeting. It's February 14th.
Valentine's Day.
Valentine's Day. Is that going to be a problem to establish quorum?
We only got 12 today.
Y'all got dates? Valentine's Day. No, it's a good point. A lot of people
There's
make
nothing going
appointments.
on today and nobody's showing up.
Some of the legions and VFWs have events and other things. Is the 14th acceptable, not acceptable? I think we need to discuss that. Good point you brought up.
It was a BCC, so I didn't see any of the other replies. Was I the only one that replied saying it might be a problem?
I didn't even get said email, so
I just noticed it when the notice came out, and I thought I'd bring it up.
BCC, I remember. I'll be here.
So we need to push it again. I'll be here.
You know, most meetings at 7 days, so.
Is that what you're gonna have?
Steve comes here.
Okay.
Steve.
The only other thing I have.
I would propose we move it a week earlier or later. That gives us enough time to announce it.
It's on the agenda.
It's the next meeting. With these stuff not being able to alter it at all. Yeah, we've got enough time. As far as I'm aware, we've got enough time to do it. If we change it now, again, we can vote on that and we can publish it.
yeah, it's just
Yeah,
as long
once
as
we
it's
do it
over
now.
10 days.
Yeah, we can't wait till the 7th of February to do that. But the motion or the proposal is to move it to another day. It would be more.
It's not voted on.
Yeah, it's not,
Because you
no.
don't- it's just you can just close the notice.
Yeah.
No one's gonna be here because they want to sign.
So if a bunch of you say, no, the 14th is not really good for you, then Jen can move that date to the 7th or the 21st.
I'll send an email tomorrow.
Without really bothering.
I would suggest that we move it ahead rather than back, because then we're getting too close to this meeting.
Right,
We've got
that-
a lot of
so you want the
stuff to do
21st.
between now and the next meeting. The bylaw committee.
A week later, not.
Yeah, we
So we
later.
did the job.
After we, to work on what we have to work on.
The motion was.
I had one more thing, please indulge me. The AARP Foundation does free tax preparation for seniors and low income. That's done in the Will County Public Libraries. I've provided all the contact information to Jen and Anna to put on the Facebook site. So please pull that down and share it to your posts and encourage folks to come in. We don't turn anybody away. So we're not looking at age or whatever, and I am seriously encouraging veterans, because what I'd like to do is partner with the commission next year and have you all maybe host the veteran tax prep next year. So my first year doing it with the ARP, please encourage your folks that could use some free tax assistance, send them into the libraries and get that done. Okay. So, need a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
Can't go fast enough. No, I got it. I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. And now I'm gonna do voice. I'm gonna do. Alright, so the first was Clark, second?
Second, 725.
725 is gonna beat up Steve. So, alright, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Abstained? No, they all said yes, really bad.
Oh, no, I'm good, thank you. Yeah, I do appreciate it.
It was a trick question.
Because you're stuck. Why is he asking that question?
I already knew the answer, but I think they wanted to ask the question, they just didn't know what question.
You should absolutely like say
To be honest with you.
Yeah, I mean, you know I'm with the AG's.
No, I didn't know that.
Oh, yeah. No.
Now it makes sense.
I'm with the AG's, Military Veterans Rights Bureau.
Okay.
So, and I'm actually the author of the trailer.
Oh.
So, yeah. Looking forward to that finally getting signed.
Yeah, I checked this afternoon. So
Yeah, I did too. I checked
I wanted to be up by
20 times a day, sometimes 10 times an hour. But
I wanted to be up on the info. I hate to say that it was signed when it wasn't.
yeah. No, hey, how you doing? Good to see you again. I'm yeah, we're at the ICVAC is having a training conference February 2nd, and there's 3 hours of presentations from Andrew Townsend and Jake Zimmerman, who are the president and vice president of the and also superintendents of other counties. And then Lake McHenry. Andrew's no, Andrew's Lake and Jake's and then this Joshua Herman, I don't know if you're familiar with him, does a lot of work with VACs. He's an attorney he's presented, he worked from Brooklyn on statutes and policies and VACs, and then one of my partners and I are going to be doing a presentation on so Joshua Herman and Andrew Tancher are doing the first presentation on the new law. This one into effect on the first, and then we're going another presentation on the new law. I was hoping it'll be signed by then. That's
There's actually some big legislation too.
Awesome. You know what I need? I need help with getting my beneficiary travel paid out.
Well, this one hasn't even been sent to us yet. No, the first hurdle is once it passes, they have to send it to the government for signature. They haven't even done that.
Not really well. I have people to really.
It's been literally 2 weeks now.
I can't get my pay.
What's the holdup?
No, wish I did. Wish I knew someone that could fix it, you know. All right, appreciate you guys. Good to see you again.
Thanks. We'll see you.
Yes, the first group of people, one person after a couple of months, that broke down. Another person that wasn't in the first group is now very interested in getting that a company must be sold, and I need 1 year after that point where I will have time in my life to take on this one. Yeah. You know that I'm raising 2 grand. You have a participating member that you. Yeah. I have a pushing me towards church. Which we have done. Because again. But you would have to go ask. Thank you very much.
But again, I'm not trying to figure out how to make people not participate. I want to be able to now,
We have 22 votes, and I can't get.
I heard, and you might have said, it. There was one, trailer bill. No.
All sorts of stuff. You gonna move, you stay there. My wife keeps saying, what do you want to do?
Instead of here moving around, it goes by. For instance, there are far more things in the
Full basement, big bedroom, over some apartment. And you don't want that. Let your first property went up. Really? Well, you know, I know, Tennessee, everybody in Tennessee. I remember when I built the fucking salt tower. I say, listen, I sent 200 and some salt myself. I'll probably set the one that you go here. They'll be part of the contract. I said, bullshit. I said, people numbers are pulling back. I'm serious. I'm on the phone and 2 minutes later, the phone rang on the bar. 2 minutes later, the phone rang on the bar. I answered the phone. I heard, yeah, so-and-so engagement. I said, can I tell you I'm the only one who fucking building corporation? I said, do you have any questions? He said, the state commander asked me who's in charge here. So call me back, make me another offer. As soon as you come up, they wanted to buy the rights and stop paying monthly. They tried to pay $80,000 cash. You know what? I said, when you triple it, we'll start talking. I said, we'll see what we can from there. And now one person shows up, if you actually got 125 or 110. I never knew about it until you told me about it. That's why I started saying, well, you know, the guy before me was he was an old wine man. Yeah, I was just talking to Mark yesterday. Matter of fact, I just got a letter, he still gets mail here. Mark John was dead 10 years ago. And he still gets mail.
I'm just trying to learn how those
Whatever, that's.
Where do we go from here? You want to go up? Gotta go up. Gotta go up.
Is it only
What's the chances?
I feel like I go down there, go 25. That would happen. Because now you got 5 people representing or I'm just trying to figure out how to get that number.
They brought 5. And they were two.
Where's your office at?
Oh, you're.